This is a topic very near and dear to my heart as someone who has been through two, if not more, abusive work environments. And one thing that, just before we get into the meat of things, I mean, I think so many people underestimate how much it impacts us emotionally, psychologically, our performance, what gets us off our game. So and it sticks with us even after we leave that environment. So if there's anything that we can do to help alleviate that, children laugh about 400 times a day. Adults laugh about 40 times a day. So we have a lot of room to increase the amount of laughter in every day that we have. This is actual human brains on laughter. And laughter is the only human emotion that stimulates every single part of our brains. So it's a really, really powerful tool. And humor works in a lot of the same ways because when we're even telling a joke or listening to a joke, we're already starting to get in that laugh mode and we're using a lot of the same parts of our brain. And so that's why laughter, I mean, it does all these amazing things. It releases dopamine, so we feel good. It reduces the cortisol, so we're less stressed. It releases oxytocin, the love hormone, so we're starting to get connected. And that's part of also why it's contagious. It activates the amygdala, so that's where we learn and remember and some of our social behaviors and our creativity. So it's a really powerful thing. And that's why when we think about workplace stress and workplace abuse, just a laugh does a lot of good for our mental health. So just from the get-go, we're doing ourselves a favor by having a good laugh. And for those of you who are like, yeah, but I don't have a sense of humor. Um, Everybody has a sense of humor. You're born with a sense of humor. Your sense of humor is, of course, unique to you based on your biology, your lived experiences, your family, your culture, all these different things, but we all have a sense of humor and we can all appreciate someone else's sense of humor. Even if we don't get it, you still have the benefits of that connection when somebody's sharing a joke with you or something that you may or may not get. You're still trying to understand it, you're still connecting, and you're still gonna when they come to their punchline, they're gonna have an expression or a laughter, and you're still gonna mimic that. So we all have a sense of humor. I'm into making AI cartoons recently. So that's one of my recent. And it also humor isn't about being the jokester. It's not always being the person who's the funny one at the dinner party or cracking all the jokes. It's about appreciating humor. It's about appreciating the absurdity. And so it's not always about making the jokes yourself. Always important to remember. Just there's a few, in terms of workplace, a few things that are really relevant about um, bringing your sense of humor, and you can hone your sense of humor and you can get more and more in touch with it and use it more um, easily as you start to practice that. But as a leader in a workspace, leaders who bring humor into the workspace create a much, much safer workspace. And the retention is higher, engagement is higher, productivity is higher, creativity is higher, all the good stuff. And there's a lot of research that backs it up. So if you're looking at it from a leadership perspective, thinking about bringing humor, and there are lots of tools, and we'll talk about a couple of them here, that you can use to bring that into your leadership. And it's really important for creating your own resilience. One, it creates a sense of calm before and after any kind of stressful situations, during as well. It also boosts your confidence and it makes people have more confidence in you. And people judge their leaders who they see having a sense of humor. They judge them as like 38% more trustworthy, 38 and like 28% more competent. So it boosts your own confidence, but also boosts how people see you. Um, seeing the absurdity, which we were just talking about, makes things less personal and makes you able to remove yourself from them in terms of how it's affecting you mentally. And you can use humor to create a shared experience because when it's shared, like an inside joke or something like that, pointing out shared absurdity in a situation, it also makes it less personal, creates a bond, gives you a safe space and another safe person. It also so powerful on flipping the script. You can control, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this, and change the energy in a room, whether or not you're the leader. And there are ways to do that, and humor is a really one of the most powerful ways to do that. And it can flip the power dynamic. It can flip the power dynamic with another individual or groups of individuals, and it can flip the power dynamic in your own head. So when you start to see someone as foolish or silly or funny in your own head, you've changed the power dynamic in terms of the way that you see them. Um, so I want to talk a little bit. I'm really into the Grim Reapers, my jokes these days. I don't know. I think there are three Grim Reaper cartoons in this particular one. But I wanted to spend a little bit of time on how to control the energy in the room. This is a tool from stand-up comedy. It's something they teach us about how to take the mic. So if you notice with a comedian, and I'll give some examples, they control the energy in that room from the moment they set foot on the stage. And it's all very, very deliberate. And part of what they know is that when you walk into a room, even if it's someone who's sitting in that room to bully you or have a negative conversation, generally there's always a few seconds of empathy. And so you have those few seconds to really take over the energy in the room. So one of the really powerful tools is to know the energy you want to bring into that room before you walk in. Are you coming in with a really calm but serious tone? Are you in the need of really lightening a space that you want to lighten up? Are you wanting people to get a lot of energy and be really razzed and ready to rock and roll? So what kind of energy do you want to bring in the room? One of the examples I love this is a workplace. It was CEO of a big recruiting company, and he was called in. He had to fly all the way from New York to Los Angeles to help settle this dispute between two of his most senior people who just couldn't get it done. It was causing a lot of problems. So he flew all the way out there. They're sitting there, they're expecting this kind of like nightmare of a meeting. And he walked in the room and he just said, "Welcome to the detente." And all of a sudden, instead of like feeling tense and arguing with each other, he said, as he quoted, "We had a brainstorm instead of a battle." Because that was the energy he said in the room, just with that light speak. So if you know the energy you want to bring into that room, those are going to be, first of all, the other thing you want to do. So know that, come walking in with that energy, and then be settled before you speak. So if you're thinking about like you're going into an HR meeting that you're afraid is going to be really contentious, or they're going to give you something nasty, or they're, fighting you on something, still take the time to be settled. So you sit down, you don't have to say anything, you get your papers settled, whatever it is. Take your time to be settled. Everything's in order. So you're completely in control, and that comes across. So on stage, that's however you take the mic. Do you come to the mic, you take it, you move the stand, and then you speak. Um, and then the first syllables out of your mouth are in the energy you want to create. So if you're like with a comedian, if you're Jeff Foxworthy, it's like, "Howdy, y'all." He's creating that kind of goofy Southern. And if you're Lewis Black, you're like, "Ugh, screw you." That's the first words out of his mouth because that's his whole spiel. So the first words out of your mouth can be in that tone as well. Like, "Good morning, Pam." Or "Hey, Pam." Those are very different, and those really control, you're setting the energy. And you can expect, because human beings are mimickers, so even if Pam was planning on giving you whatever grief or whatever, um, the innate reaction will be to respond in kind. That's just who we are as humans. So it's very hard for someone, when you've controlled that energy, it's very hard for them to be like, well, they're going to respond in kind. And if you're expecting that, then anything less will make them feel weird also. So you've already shifted the power dynamic. And you can also drive the opening narrative, even perhaps being something off topic if you really want to, like, oh, hey, Pam. Oh my gosh, have you like seen what's happening with the coffee maker down there? Or, I have you like dealt with the weather today? Whatever it is, in the tone and energy you want, you're controlling that whole scene and that whole setup, and setting things off on a certain foot. You can also change the energy in a room similar ways. You can go off topic in the middle. You can tell a funny story in the middle. Something happens loud outside. You can use that as a moment to change the energy in the room, by pointing it out and laughing about it, and that will take everything down.